you gonna sit? Right there.
I think I'm right here. You know, I'm fidgety, so do I need not try to be still?
A little bit, but I think you'll be okay with this.
I got to get the jerry rig in here.
I'm gonna go live, okay?
Okay.
You can tell people you're going live. You want? Wait, I'm not live yet. Okay, you're live.
Hey y'all. I'm getting ready to have an interview here at Radio 1 with Ron, so stay tuned. If you ask a question, you know I ain't gonna be able to see you till later. Hey Ron.
All right.
So I don't even know what I'm being asked. I'm kind of nervous, y'all.
Don't be nervous. We are going to trip you up.
All right.
And you got a cute, see? You're cute.
Oh, look real cute.
Yeah.
So that is recording now.
It is recording?
Yeah, let me just check real quick.
I can see all the behind the scenes stuff.
Okay, good.
And you like your angle?
Yeah, yeah.
Is my angle cute on here?
I think so. See?
Let me see. Okay.
That's about all we can do with our MacGyver.
Oh goodness, oh goodness.
You got a lot of people already on there.
Hey,
Okay, Chef Joya, if you can, I need you to count back from 5 for me so that I can adjust your levels.
all right.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry.
I need a microphone.
and scoot over just a little bit to
Let's
you.
have it. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. And 4.
All right.
There we go.
Oh, I feel like an MC.
Check, microphone check.
Check 1, 2. All right, count back from 5.
Yes, if you can.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
B-Day.
All right, again, I'm going to read an intro, and then we will jump right into it, okay?
All right.
Here we go. And a good morning to you. Welcome to Community Voices. I'm your host, Ron Holland. Transitioning to a plant-based lifestyle is not as difficult a challenge as one assumes. To be frank, it requires commitment, focus, and a strong drive to change. As many of you know, I flirted with becoming a vegan in years past, but it wasn't until February that I had a strong motivation to completely eliminate consuming animal flesh. I'm down from 235 in February to 219 today. How was I able to make that transition? Well, the secret was already on my plate. Unfortunately, for many years, I either ignored what was there, had a very small portion of what was on my plate, or it was discarded altogether. All of those delicious vegetables are now the staple of my diet. Joining me this morning here in the studio to both help and inspire you to make this transition, if you so choose, is Joya, or Joya.
Yes.
See, now I got it. Joya. You know, that's such a pretty name.
Thank
Joya.
you. Thank you.
So is it an African name?
Yes.
It is African.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's actually pronounced.
I was tempted to say Black Power, but I let that.
Yeah, so it's actually pronounced the Ghanaian way is Ajua.
Okay. Ajua Courtney, professionally known and affectionately known as Chef Joya. Chef Joya was raised vegan since the age of 7 in the heart of the Midwest, Milwaukee. Are there black folks in Milwaukee?
I knew that was coming. There's a lot of black people in Milwaukee.
Because I didn't know.
I get that question all the time.
Is that right?
There's a lot of black people.
Okay, so there's like 3 black folks in Milwaukee.
No.
She not only vlogs about plant-based lifestyle, she offers cooking lessons, travels the country selling out venues, collaborates with restaurants, participates in competition, and brings to the table exquisite cuisines from the soul food, African, Afro-Caribbean, and French traditions. Chef Joya, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about food. And I have to mention she brought some food here to the studio. And all I had this morning was a smoothie, so I'm hungry.
You're going to enjoy this.
Oh, all right. That sounds good. So let's talk. Hundreds of thousands of people are transitioning from consuming animal flesh and animal products every single day. As you travel the country, what are you hearing from people that have made this choice?
A lot of people that made the choice to transition to veganism I get you said like a half and half split. It's either for health reasons
Yeah.
or they're finally paying attention to what it is that they're eating. You know, they seen a documentary and they was like that kind of opened up a lot of people's eyes once they like the documentary came out a couple of years ago, and that's what started their transition into
Oh
a
yeah,
plant-based lifestyle.
and listen, and you know, I flirted a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and I forgive me, I forgot the name of the documentary. I'm trying to remember. It'll come to me. At any rate, so when I saw that documentary, I
Mhm.
was aghast at what I was seeing because I had never seen a slaughterhouse. Number one.
Oh wow.
I never, and it was appalling to me what I was actually seeing. Now, I am not a champion of veganism and going to swoop down and save the animals.
Mhm.
This was just a personal journey.
Right.
So, at the end of the day, transitioning because of diabetes, high blood pressure, is
Mhm.
that the conversation that you're having?
That is a lot of the conversations that I have, and that's even how my parents ended up becoming vegan when we were younger, when I was 7 years old, because my daddy was borderline diabetic, and they had some health issues, and so that's when they switched to the vegan lifestyle. But back then it wasn't called vegan; it was called vegetarian.
Right.
Even though we abstained from any animal products, that's the lifestyle that my parents chose.
What are the three immediate benefits of a plant-based lifestyle?
The three immediate, just feeling better. Like
I agree. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting you.
That's okay. You can interrupt me. 'Cause I gotta think about that. Like just feeling better. That's just like my number one thing because it's like you can eat these foods. You know, I make a lot of vegan comfort food, soul food. But you get full, but you don't feel that heaviness. It don't
Right.
feel that ilky, feeling.
Like you want to go to sleep.
Right. Right.
And,
You don't
unloosen your belt. or wear warm-up pants because you just don't want to tie it. You know.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so interestingly, because you mentioned pre-diabetes, and I've shared this with folks before. It was back in February when the doctor introduced two words to me. He said borderline and threshold, that I was on that borderline of becoming a diabetic. So I made the immediate decision to change that lifestyle. And as I've indicated at the top of the show, I went from 235 down to 219 now. And you're absolutely right. You feel better almost immediately, I would say within in the first 2 weeks. So what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, it's just awesome. It's like if you can control your health just by what you put in your body and you have that choice,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
Like that's just like the absolutely best thing. Like your food is your medicine. So I mean, if you can do that, like why not do it?
One of the interesting things that was a real revelation for me is the interesting colors that are actually on the plate. So when I am, cooking it, and now I shouldn't say cook. When I saute, it sounds so French to me. So when I'm sauteing, I appreciate the reds, the greens, the yellows, the oranges. It just looks better for some reason. Talk a little bit about that.
It looks amazing. I used to have this hashtag called Eat Your Colors because it's like just anytime I make plates or food, I have to have multiple colors. I can't just have one just color on here.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're just seeing the nutrition and it tastes really, really good.
Right.
Like so it's exciting.
and again, I had to appreciate what I had been missing all of these years. I've eaten more vegetables in the last few months that I have all of my entire life, which is absolutely astounding to me. But it required me to see my doctor to tell me, look, you are on this threshold. You need to change. Talk a little bit about the challenges to becoming a vegan or making the transition to become plant-based.
Well, the challenges that I see that people are having with becoming plant-based or vegan is one, the grocery shopping.
Oh my God. But you know what? I'm sorry, because I know because you're the teacher here.
No, we can talk. This is a conversation.
But I tell you, the interesting component in that is that it is not as difficult. I never knew, because if you have a conversation with anyone that wants to lose weight, well, it's too expensive. No, it isn't. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, that's okay. It's the grocery shopping, not knowing what to choose, not understanding, and I tell everybody, read your labels. That's the biggest thing. If you're not just getting fruits and vegetables and things like that, read your labels. Some things are already naturally vegan, even if it doesn't say vegan. Just you gotta read all the ingredients that's in it. I know it's a little tedious, but if that's the lifestyle path that you're trying to be on, that's something that needs to be done. So that's like one of the biggest struggles. And then not knowing not knowing how many options you have.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty much been like the struggle with people with transitioning vegan or not knowing how to make it taste good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So then you hire me and I cook for you.
Well, the question becomes: are you expensive? You know, I don't
I
want to
mean-
have. I don't want to have to wait to hit the lottery, so that I can
No.
hire a chef to come in and cook my food for me. Are you expensive?
Prescriptions cost more.
Oh, see, she threw that one right back at me. So here's the deal. There is a national discussion about Impossible Meats, Impossible Burgers, the Beyond Meat, and a lot of criticism has been leveled at these companies because of the over-processed component of this. Talk a little bit about that. Uh-oh. See, this is where I get you in trouble.
No, you're not gonna get me in trouble at all.
Because I'm the whole. I think it's Whole Foods. They've added their voice to it, and it's just an interesting conversation.
So the whole thing with Beyond Meat and Impossible Burger, first of all, there's been soy burgers and meat substitutes since I was a kid. They're not the first to do it. I know that there's more stuff that's being put in food and it is being processed. But my thoughts on it, honestly, if it's helping people transition to a vegan lifestyle, then so be it. It's not like your lentil burger. I mean, there's different options, but if this is going to be the gateway to get somebody that's used to eating beef and steak and all this meatloafs and things like that, that's going to get them over to this side. And once they get to this side, they can learn what to do and what other options they have, then go for it.
Yeah, and interestingly, and I want to encourage folks to go to my Facebook because I put an interesting juxtaposition because of this criticism. So what I did was I found photographs of a slaughterhouse with a cow literally being slaughtered, and the blood, unfortunately, I have to say this, dripping from the cow, and then of course there are other cows, dead cows hanging, and then there's a conveyor belt of cow meat going up the conveyor belt, and then I put the hamburger there. And then juxtaposing that with black beans, rice, soy, and a conveyor belt with those processed products going up the conveyor belt, and of course a vegan hamburger. So if you are going to criticize and talk about process, which is the healthier process?
Right.
Is it the dead flesh or is it the beans and the lentils? That's a question folks have to answer.
Yeah.
So your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, just pick your battles. I say it all the time, pick your battles. Because, like I said, my thing is get them over to this side.
I call it a bridge.
Right, and the thing is, you eat all of that in moderation. That I will not tell anybody in the world to eat that every day. I wouldn't even say eat it every week. When you want to enjoy something, if you want your junk food, like vegans have junk food too. Plant-based lifestyle has junk food. And enjoy your moment or whatever, but don't do it all the time.
Yeah, I agree. In case you're just joining us, in the studio with me this morning is vegan plant-based chef, Chef Joya, professionally known. Well, I just said your name, Chef.
Yeah.
Well, she's professionally known as Chef Joya, and we are talking about plant-based living, her travels to encourage this lifestyle, and the benefits, of course, to becoming a vegan. Talk to our listeners about some of your signature dishes. Because I smell it in here in the studio.
Oh yeah. So I bought you some Gullah food today.
Really?
Yeah, some Gullah vegan food.
So without the crabs and all of that other stuff?
No, yeah. I made vegan crab.
Oh, you did?
I made a vegan crab and okra etouffee for you.
Oh, okay.
And some vegan crab cakes.
Oh. Because I'm allergic to crabs.
Oh, but you can eat this.
Oh, I'm excited.
You can eat this.
Hey, listen, I have to harken back to when I lived in Asbury Park, New Jersey. I was 12 years old, and we had crabs for dinner. And so by the time 7 or 8 o'clock rolled around, I'm 12 years old, my face blew up, my eyes, I couldn't see, and I had to go to the emergency room, and that's when I learned I was allergic to shellfish. So I haven't had shellfish since. So the question becomes, am I going to enjoy what you brought in today?
You're going to absolutely love it. I was like, I'm tooting my own horn. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
You're going to love it. But some of my signature dishes, of course, if you hear mac and cheese and you hear vegan, you're going to hear Chef Joya.
So we have sitting behind the camera today is my friend Jamaica Witten. So last week I posted on Facebook, it was an emergency. So I'm walking into to one of the grocery stores. and I happened to be in the dairy aisle, and this big red sign just started flashing. Eggnog, eggnog, eggnog. What am I going to do? I just made the transition. I need the alternative, Chef Joya.
They have vegan eggnog.
So, yeah, so talk to me about what I can do to get this vegan eggnog.
Go to Food Line. That's where I bought mine last year. I love it. Like
they have that in Food
Yes,
Line?
they do, and it's really good.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good. Like I don't think that there's anything that you may have eaten when you were eating meat and dairy that you cannot find now.
Well, I can't find an alternative to pepper jack cheese. Is there?
Oh, yes, you can.
See, again, I'm
goodness.
demonstrating my ignorance in this area.
Yes, you can. There's so many. I know for sure. A Daya makes a pepper jack cheese for sure, and I can look up a couple other brands. There's so many different cheeses.
So again, let's get back to some of your signature dishes.
All right. So yeah, the mac and cheese, that's just stuck in my head because I feel like that's all I make all the time.
You know, that's a tradition in our community.
In everybody's community.
Yeah.
I did not know how powerful mac and cheese was until I'm telling you, until I won the competition. Mac and cheese started my career. But signature dishes, mac and cheese, I would say my sauced up ribs, black and white greens, the bourbon peach cobblers. What else is signature for me?
Oh my God.
I don't know. I make so much stuff.
Yeah,
Can you think of anything?
Wings.
Oh yeah. Oh, and my vegan wings. That is a new
wings.
signature for me. Yes.
So how do you make your wings? Because since I've made this transition, I've actually used jackfruit number one, and then of course the soy. What is it? What is it?
Tofu?
Tofu,
yes.
Yeah. So I've used tofu. And so part of what I do is, and this of course is Jamaica's advice, is I freeze the tofu. And then the next day I let it thaw out just a little bit, and then I fry it up if I have the taste for fried food. So talk a little bit about, when you make this transition, obviously there are alternatives.
Yes, there is. So when you make the transition, like I said, find the products. Even with using tofu, some people are like, I don't like tofu. Tofu is really good. You just have to season it. Like you really have to season it. I tell people you marinate it first too. That'll pick up even more flavor.
Right.
As far as using, like, for my vegan chicken wings, y'all about to learn something new today.
Uh-oh.
All right, I'm not gonna tell y'all, but take notes, screen record. So when I first started doing my vegan chicken wings, I would do it out of jackfruit, and it would get more of the jackfruit nuggets, and I make like a double batter, things like that. Then I started to use mushrooms. Now you have to use an oyster mushroom, not just any old regular mushroom. Taking notes?
I'm taking notes.
You have to use an oyster mushroom, and you want to make sure that you pat it clean, and then you season it just like you would if you were making chicken. The only thing extra that you would do to it is use some poultry seasonings, because you want to give it that familiar, those familiar flavors like sage and marjoram and thyme and things like that. So yeah.
So with regard to jackfruit, for instance, when I initially, I think this was back in early March, and I tried jackfruit for the first time, and it was pretty good, but there was this briny taste to it. How do you extract the brine from the jackfruit?
Oh, you're getting all my secrets today.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. No, okay, so there's two ways I do it, depending on what it is that I'm making. One way I do it is I make sure I rinse it, and then I boil it in a broth.
See, now I didn't know the broth.
Oh, yeah.
See, I didn't know that. Now you told me. Okay, go ahead.
Boil it in the broth and let it simmer for about 25 minutes to get that briny taste out of it. And then another way to use it too, if you want to use it for, I don't know, something more flaky, if you want to make sure you rinse it off, break it down, season it, I put some olive oil on it, and put it in the oven and roast it for about 30 minutes on 375.
Okay. So the folks who want to make this transition, obviously they have a busy life. They're getting home 6 o'clock in the evening, and they have to do homework. What do you say to those individuals who just don't feel like having to go through 30 minutes of cooking anything?
Just have some options. I mean, have you a meal? You can hire me. Your food
You
ready
haven't
for you?
answered the question, are you expensive?
I told you.
We're going to return to that question. Go ahead.
Hire me. Or you can, like if you want to meal prep for the week, or just have some things that you can, grab and go. Like it doesn't take a long time to put, a salad together or put together. They have frozen meal options. There's I mean, if you want to get restaurants, there's some good restaurants here in Charlotte that you can go to as well.
Mhm.
Just little, nuts, grains, things like that. So it's really not that hard.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really not that hard.
Talk about the sauces and spices that help people, because the flavor is really important.
Oh yeah.
So, what are some of the best spices and sauces that help the palate adjust to this lifestyle?
Oh goodness! I tell everybody you have to have in your pantry salt, pepper, salt and pepper must, and you have your garlic powder, your onion powder. Find a vegan Worcestershire, and the Worcestershire sauce, you have to make sure you look at the label, because a lot of them have anchovies in it.
Mhm.
So a lot of them have anchovies in it. So you want to make sure that you have that a good hot sauce.
Oh, absolutely.
You gotta
That's
have
a
hot
must.
sauce. Poultry seasoning. Cumin is going to be really big, especially when you want to have the flavors of like beef flavor. Liquid smoke is absolutely
Liquid smoke.
Liquid smoke.
What is that?
So liquid smoke is literally liquid. It gives you like a grill flavor, char flavor. But when you put it in like, say cooking collard greens.
Okay.
Like I made you some collard greens as well today.
Oh,
Yes,
God,
I did.
I feel so lucky.
I add liquid smoke in it because when you younger you have like smoked turkey or meats in there. It gives you that same essence of flavor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is
So those are like some big things that you gotta have, and nutritional yeast. You gotta have some nutritional yeast.
Now I tried nutritional yeast a while back. I tried to make some eggs. It didn't turn out well at all. I used it with the tofu, and I chopped some onions and some peppers, but it didn't turn out. I think the mixture was
off. No.
But how do you adjust to making the right mixture to make sure that the food is tasting good?
Well, as far as using nutritional yeast, I typically only use nutritional yeast is when I want something to be creamy or cheesy flavor, like your grits you have today too. Yeah, those.
Oh my God!
I just brought it out.
Grits too.
like your grits and like mac and cheese and anything that's cheesy that's when you want to use like nutritional yeast, or even if you have like some popcorn you want to pop, put some nutritional yeast, a little bit Bragg's on it. It's absolutely amazing.
Wow. There's an age-old argument whether humans are designed to eat meat, that we are a plant-based species. Address that argument for me. I told you I was going to throw out one for you.
No, I did like that because this is my parents all day. My dad always used to say, if we were meant to eat meat, we'll go out there and catch it and eat it raw, just like the animals do. So that's my answer for that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm sure you will agree that plant-based or vegan lifestyle is the better choice for us as a nation, of course, our health and environment. What do you say to a nation of carnivores that will never, ever, ever give up animal flesh? That person who just absolutely loves that steak, how do you convince that person that making this transition is the healthier choice?
Well, I've learned that when people are in that mindset and that's what they set on wanting to do, that's just what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm not like a pressure vegan. I don't try to impose what I believe or what I do on anyone, but I do encourage, you may want to eat meat all the time, but at least start eliminating it, like maybe a couple times a week. Just try some other options. You don't ever have to be totally vegan, but try like a meatless Monday, or just eliminate some of it, and just see how you feel.
As the holidays are approaching, of course, particularly Thanksgiving, what can you offer us for those who want to transition to have or introduce a new Thanksgiving menu? What would you say to a family?
Oh, what they should have on their menu?
Yeah,
oh, goodness, there's so many different things. You definitely, so I actually do, like, you can order like trays of food, but the option will always be have your cornbread dressing. You can have your green beans. You can do everything the same way. You can candy yam souffle. Do like the vegan smothered chicken. You can make roast. Oh, it's so good. You got your cranberry sauce. What else do we have for Thanksgiving? Your mac and cheese, your mashed potatoes and gravy. Now, if you really want to get deep, you can actually even make vegan chitlins.
No! Don't go.
No.
Will it have the smell?
No, it don't.
Okay.
And that's what a lot of people think. They're like, oh my gosh, the smell. No, you can't associate that. I mean, it's hard not to associate that smell with chitlins, but it doesn't smell like it looks like it.
Wow.
And I'm not getting necessarily, it's just really flavor. You don't have that steak taste in it.
and dress it up with a lot of hot sauce.
Yeah, put your hot sauce and your bell pepper and onions all in there.
Wow. So I do want to return to one subject because we're about to close, and that is give us your top top food alternatives for people yearning for this dramatic change?
Top food alternatives.
Again, particularly and especially with cheese.
Oh, my favorite cheese brands.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Say nothing but a word. All right. So I would say that Chow Cheese by Phil Rose is my top favorite one cheese, and then you'll go to Violife. Those are two. That's really good. If you want to use meat substitutes, tofu is good. You just have to learn how to work with it. Jackfruit is a must to have in your pantry. I don't suggest people, unless you want to get it whole, I don't suggest you doing it because it's a big mess.
And
It's
not
a big
only
mess.
that, it looks scary to me.
It's a hard thing to tackle,
Yeah,
but if you're transitioning, don't even bother with it.
Yeah.
Go to
Get the can.
Go to your Asian markets, get it right out the can,
Yeah.
and either boil it or roast it. I also would say if you're going to use meat substitute, my favorite brand, I would say maybe it's Gardein products. They're pretty good.
Oh yeah.
They're actually really good. And then chickpeas is a must to have in it because there's so many different things I could do with chickpeas, mushrooms, lentils. What else? Oh, and then your milks, your unsweetened milks. So you have your cashew milks, and that's really good for cooking, especially if you're doing something creamy, like with potatoes or mac and cheese or anything like that. Then you have your almond milks, which is really good for baking. And let's see what else I think is a must-have. It's going to come to me.
Well, look, what comes to mind is sausage because
sausages!
I
my
love
gosh.
the turfurkey or or whatever. I can't pronounce the word, but at the end of the day, it is the best sausage alternative that I found.
That you found? Yeah. Oh wow, there are so many. Yeah.
Well, listen, I thank you for coming in. I just want the audience to know this very early morning that I am about to enjoy collard greens and grits.
Yes, collard greens and grits.
Well, Chef Joya, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure.
All right. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll wrap up the show. This is Community Voices with your host, Ron Holland. We will be back in a moment. All right. There we go.
Yeah,
that wasn't difficult.
Can I hit?
Yeah, you can stop.
Hey, y'all.